Welcome everyone to the show, Combustible Elements, real talk for real people. Here we try to put different ideas and perspectives together in a pot, heat it up, and get an explosion of knowledge and understanding. We understand that problems can only be fixed starting from the bottom to the top, building a great foundation for change and improvement. I'm Big Mel, and I'm joined by Ruben, aka the Monarch, and Aaron, the Hitman. Let's Yeah, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we're here again with Combustible Elements. Always trying to have good topics, stuff nobody else is talking about, stuff to make you think, stuff for us to build a foundation. So let's rock and roll. I'm Big Mel. I'm joined by Aaron the Hitman and Ruben the Monarch. You're gonna have to bear with me this week. COVID is real. I'm coming off a stint, so if it sounds like I'm losing my voice, I'm losing my voice. If it sounds like I'm labor breathing, I'm labor breathing a little bit, but we're gonna get through this together. So our topic this week is the American dream still real? You know, the American dream is different from the people in America, and the American dream is different from people around the world. You got people around the world that still believe you follow the yellow brick road, like the roads are paved with gold. Everybody's trying to get into this country, thinking this country is so great, which we are in a sense, but we can always get better. But everybody's trying to get in here. So we're going to discuss our versions of American Dream. So, like I said, I ain't going to run my mouth. I'm going to pass it over to the hitman. What do you think about the American Dream, brother?
I'm gonna pass that John down to Ruben because this Ruben topic, so I'm gonna let him start it off.
Okay, okay, that's right, that's right. This is my fault. Let me, boom, there you go, Rube. Talk to us.
I mean, American Dream. So I chose this topic because for me, I recently became an American about 2 years ago now. And growing up, you know, I'm me being Haitian, there's this like, image of America that's painted and when you're outside of America, it's like, yo, these roads out here paved in gold. And it's just like this is where the money runs, this is where like if you want to make it, you gotta make it here. If you don't make it here, then you ain't make it anywhere. And it's like people are willing to go through any and everything just to get here for the American dream. And to a certain extent, at one period of time, I feel like that was true. But over the last, I'm gonna say 20 years or so, I don't know if I could honestly say that like the American dream is what people thought it was or think it is or whatever. Like my understanding, being an adult, being someone who has a family, being someone who is an entrepreneur, like you get wrapped up in this concept of dreaming, this constant chase, this constant rat race that is the American dream, and you can almost get engulfed by it. What do I mean by that? You kind of everything here costs more. So one of me and one of my friends were talking about how the way we describe America is it's like if you go into a different city and you're a tourist, you're not familiar with that place, and you got these tourist areas. Basically you got things that tourists do when they go to a different city. And what do I mean by that is typically in those touristy areas you're going to spend a lot more for whatever you're doing than the people that live in those towns, because they know like these are people that are not usually from here, so we're going to charge them a premium because they're not familiar, they don't know. So America, in my opinion, has become that to the rest of the world. It's like everything that we do here is taxed at a premium, as compared to the rest of the world, and sold on a platter as if like, yo, this is the only thing, this is how we live, this is how you do it, this is what you got to do in order to do XYZ or whatever, whether that be eat, drink, sleep, live, dress, so forth and so on. And it's been commercialized that way to the rest of the world, to where now it makes everyone want to come here and do it. But people that know better, that are from that are from those cities, if you're a tourist, they're not gonna sit there and eat at all the tourist spots. They're not gonna sit there and go buy things at all the tourist spots. They're gonna go to the local spots. Whereas if you come here to go out to eat with a family, it costs more. If you want to go to the movies, it costs more. If you want to go shopping, it costs more. Everything costs an exuberant amount of money, whereas you go in other countries and it doesn't cost nowhere near that much. Like majority of the stuff that we get here are upsells from China, for instance. Like we get a lot of products, you know, whether it be your clothes that you're wearing, whether it be the car that you're driving, most of those things are imported. And we're paying an extreme premium for them because we live here. Whereas if you were somewhere else, you're not paying nowhere near that. Whether that be your electronics, your favorite iPhone, your favorite smartphones, your favorite iPads, your favorite, you know, computers, whatever electronic, like clothes, all those things get ridiculously priced and ridiculously taxed just because you live in the touristy world that is America. So for me, I've decided I don't want to subscribe to the concept of paying more, you know, to be somewhere when I can enjoy all those same things somewhere else. Now, granted, you do have a lot of freedoms when you live here. You know, you do have certain liberties when you live here. But is the cost worth what you're paying for those freedoms and liberties? Go ahead, Aaron.
Uh, so
Yeah, he passes it off. He passes it off forcefully. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm done.
So when I think about the American dream, I think about opportunities, the opportunities that you get afforded when you live here. Um, so I think that is still alive and kicking, so to speak, the American dream. And I think a lot of people that come into the country take advantage of it. Uh, be it that they start businesses, they get loans and things like that to start businesses, and they thrive in the businesses, and they build their wealth, they build their family up through the businesses that they get, um, through taking on the American dream. Now, I just now started for the past couple of years trying to build my businesses and build generational wealth for my kids. So I feel like that the American dream is still alive and thriving. You just got to find ways to make it work for you. So everybody has a different point of view or a different perspective about what the American dream should look like. But you know, as long as I'm building wealth and I'm building a foundation for my kids to build money for their kids, then the American dream is still alive and working in a way that is going to work. Like nothing is perfect. So, I mean, you got to work for it. It is a dream. And, you know, even in some of your dreams, turn into nightmares. So, I mean, you just got to work through it. You got to wake up and go back to sleep and start all over again. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the American dream for me is still an American dream. It just looks different than what it did back when I was growing up or back when my parents was growing up. How you feel about this, Mel?
Okay. I'm going to give you my version on the American. Actually, I'm going to give you my version on the American Dream first because I know you guys saw me writing, so you know what that means. I'm coming back with that bullshit in a minute. Um, First of all, my idea of the American Dream presently may not be the idea that the American Dream was predicated on. Because when you go through these countries and they talk about the American Dream, they've been talking for years about the American Dream. Years ago, the American Dream was you wanted freedom, prosperity, and democracy. Three things that you really didn't have outside in the rest of the world. There was a lot of monarchies. There was a lot of power-driven governments. It's not much different now, but I'm just saying it was really the number was it wasn't even close to now. And then every government was backed by the military. So if you had the military, you ruled them. So the idea of having freedom, prosperity, and democracy. Now, prosperity is the one that links the original American dream to the present American dream. Because prosperity back then would have been land, you know what I mean? Food to grow, food to eat, a trade to make money from, to buy items, which if you had like a farm or whatever, or, you know, a self contained business you could do. That prosperity links us to now, 2020. When people talk about coming to this country, they think everybody got money
2021.
over here.
Yeah, I wasn't
I'm
going.
sorry, 2021.
I was
No,
going.
you can correct me. I'll be doing that until March.
I was going
I've
to
been
keep
doing
it
it for 49 years. I can't help it. I'll be signing the wrong date. So that prosperity is what links us to now. Because a lot of times when people want to come to this country, if you ask them, they talk about economic opportunities. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Excuse me. You know, they'll say democracy and freedom, but that's this shit you got to say when you take the test, and you got to and let's be honest, those tests that people take to become American citizens, Ruben will know more about American history than American citizens
Facts.
because they make them take that test, and
Facts.
that's how they garner, you know, how you get here, and another reason to charge you a fee. He will know more about the history of the United States of America than somebody that should have been growing up in their infrastructure and know the history that they want you to know instead of the history, the whole entirety of the truth. But back to prosperity, it links us to 2021 because people come over here and they do better. When you go to these other countries, and I've been outside the United States a lot of times, people be hustling. And I mean, they be hustling. Like, you go to beaches sometimes, it's no running water. It's not a bunch of bathrooms and this and that. Only maybe at the bar. The rest of it, you got to use a porta potty. And there's somebody standing there charging you money to use a porta potty. And they serious about that. Like, yo, you got your money. You know what I'm saying? So there's people coming around selling fruit. So when they look at the United States, they look at it as far as we can do better over there than we do over there, over where we're at. In a lot of cases, it's true. Like we become spoiled because we live here sometimes economically. But Aaron brought up the point of people come over and take advantage of their opportunities, business, wealth, and for me, they're not afraid to repeat. So you have a Chinese person come over, and then people will be like, "Oh, it's another group of Chinese people when they're gonna open up a Chinese restaurant." Now we over here would be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do the same thing as everybody else." But however, they come over here and open one because it's an established business. That's what
It
people
works.
expect.
It works. It got
So
a
they
business
don't
model.
mind, right? They don't mind to repeat. Like our thinking towards prosperity needs to be updated to coincide with people that come in this country from other places with the way they view generating wealth. They come with whole families and put their money together. You sitting down there and you watching them, and then some people it might be like five people in the house and they all making minimum wage, but they living good. They living in a good area, or they go buy a nice house, and you're like, how can they do it? Five people working together. That's the American dream. A lot of people follow. We can do better over there than we can do where we're at. So I don't really think it's democracy or freedom anymore. I think it's really like economic right now. Now, I just spoke on something Aaron said. So let me speak on something Ruben said. And I'm showing my age because I'm putting on my glasses to read my own writing. So it was a couple things. People come over here looking for money so they can live the American dream, which is a better lifestyle. That's what you said. Um, do you agree that most people come over here with the economic side? And don't answer that yet because I have a couple questions for you. So don't answer that yet. That's one question. The other one is, do you think your view of the American dream is different because you lived over here before you became a citizen, as opposed to if you would have been someplace else and then came over here and then tried to become a citizen? Like you were in it. It wasn't like you were outside the mix. You were in it. You know what I'm saying? So the falsehood of America is just grandiose without these problems. That shit didn't fall in your lap because you lived over here. So do you think that people's version of the American dream would change if they actually had to be over here for a while and say, because most people from over there don't visit our country, but we visit their country. And then I have one more question for you. Or no, it's not really a question. It's a statement to what you said. And the statement was, that everything costs more over here. And everything costs more over here because our economy is predicated on our excesses, meaning it's predicated on the money we spend. So they can get that tax money, they can get those premiums, they can get all this stuff because of the money we spend. And nobody else in the world, as you said, is spending money like we spend over here. But do you think people coming over here would take into account that minimum wage hasn't risen in over 20 years? So the cost of living has been going up and up, but minimum wage has stayed locked in the same place. Not for 5 years, not for 4 years, or even 10 years, for over 20 years. So do you think that would make a difference in people's judgment if they knew that? Because you think you living better and you can afford things, but the cash flow ain't what you think when you add the cost of living.
Well, see, that's what I mean by everything costs more here. Like, granted, the American dollar is still strong relative to a lot of other foreign countries, but when it's relative to like other superpower countries, like the euro, for instance, the American dollar is way weaker than the euro, and even the Chinese dollar. The American dollar is almost on par with the Chinese dollar, if not weaker, as we speak right now. With all these different stimulus checks that they keep printing out, each time they print out a new stimulus check for $1 trillion or however many billions of dollars that they printed out, the American dollar goes weaker. That's why stocks prices have gone ridiculous. Like if you invested in the stock market last year, chances are you tripled your money. Depending on when you got in, or at least doubled it. We got, for me, like you said, I came here, I was living here, and then I became an American. So coming here at 12 and living here 20 something years, I got to see both sides. Like my father, who's 62 now, never left Haiti. He's traveled all over the world, but it's not until now that I can fully understand and realize like why that he never bothered moving here. And even though all of his family members, everybody that he knows, leave Haiti and move into the States, there's a certain level of freedom that you'll never get. That you'll never get when you basically come and live here. For one thing, you never own your property. It doesn't matter how much you pay off your mortgage or whatever like that. Like you can pay off your mortgage. You can buy it cash and you own it straight out, but you'll never own it. Reason being, that's not how Uncle Sam has it set up. So hold on a second. So because of that, something as simple as ownership. That's one of the things they preach about a lot of here, and a lot of different people on social media is like, yeah, ownership, buy a house. And you're right, you should buy a house. Definitely, I own a property, and it's good. But when I'm done paying my house off in the next 24 years, if I follow my payment schedule, I'm still gonna have insurance I got to pay for and taxes. And guess what? If I don't pay my taxes and the insurance for my house, they can come and take my house at any given time. Even if I've paid off the mortgage, they can come and take it. That it's a lot of different things that I can sit there and highlight and say, yo, this is why I don't believe, I personally don't believe in the American dream. It's not so much the economic part. Yes, you can make a lot more money here than you would, living somewhere else, working somewhere else. But as you make more dollars here, you also have to spend that much more dollars. As you sit there and you put 8 hours in your job, or you put 10 hours in your job, or you put 12 hours in your job, all depending on what type of work you do. You literally give up your soul, your youth, all of your energy to a lot of these different companies, for the almighty dollar. And then at the end of the day, you get 7 to 8 years, if that, to enjoy it before you die, because the retirement age is 65. Typically people live to like 72, 78, somewhere within that range. And, it's essentially just a new version of slavery, but we just call it capitalism.
You know what I'm finding out about you, Ruben? You are a grim thinking bastard. Like, you get 7 to 8 years, you work hard your whole life, and that's all you get. That's so damn cold blooded. Like
I mean,
let's
listen,
just say you work hard in the beginning and get it together in the beginning. You'll be done by the time you're 40 or 50. You know what I'm
realistically,
saying?
realistically, most people should be done or could be done, but that the way it's set up over here, you're never gonna be done because most people. One of the things you hear, one of the common things you're gonna hear out of a lot of people's mouths that work hard, you know, is yo, I work hard, so I deserve it. So that's the excuse for buying cars they don't need. Always, going on trips that they have no business affording for, like just doing certain things that really they could just wait off a couple years to do later on, but because of the timing that they're taking to do it, they're gonna keep working, well up until 65. Or you got these different companies where it's like, yo, I've worked here 30 years already. I should be able to leave. But it's like, yeah, you could leave, but you're not gonna get all your money. So what you want to do? You want to get all your money or you want to leave?
Some places will give you your money when you leave at 30 years.
Yeah, but
There are still some jobs like that that won't
some
penalize you for
places,
not the age.
but a lot of other, a majority of them are like, listen, I hear what you did. You said you did 30 years. You're right, but if you don't leave until this specific age right here, you're not gonna get all of it. You're gonna get you get 80% of it, but I'm gonna keep the 20. And it's like,
Well, what they usually do is, and then we're gonna get off topic. What they usually do is they charge you 7% to the point that you would have reached 62 if you don't have 30 years on the job. If you have 30 years on the job, sometimes they don't penalize you for the age. If you have less than 30 years, they penalize you 7%. So now, if you're 55 and got like 25 years, that's 7 years. So that's like seven times it. That's 49, but that's half your fucking money, like your pension. So you are right in that aspect, and you also right that people waste their money. We are a country of excess. We buy shit we don't need. We buy
but
shit
the
at a
thing is,
high price at a young age.
and I can't fully put the blame on the people because a lot of billions and millions of dollars are spent to make sure we keep the wheel moving, we keep greasing like things like these stimulus plans. It's like, yo, we're gonna give y'all money with every expectation that you're gonna blow this money because we need y'all to continue to spend to keep this thing going. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's
Like
how
like they
economy is
spend
and money.
they
Spend,
spend
spend,
billions
spend.
of dollars to make sure that we spend money,
But they
on
don't.
on
We don't
frivolous
have to do
things.
that.
No, you don't have a choice for the most part because every time you turn around, whether it's television, whether it's print ad, whether it's billboards, everywhere you go, you look at your phone, you stare at your phone for too long. Google or Amazon will send you an ad for something because they're like, hey man, I see you keep looking at that screen. What you want, a new phone? You want a new watch? You want this? I see you was looking over here. Hey, you talked about such and such earlier. Here you go. Here go a discount on it.
Okay,
Data.
and you're right. You're right. You're right that ads do that, but we still don't have to go there. But it leads to the next topic, which is choice. So, Aaron, I'm going to ask you because I said the prosperity links these two things. You know what I mean? And I said prosperity links the old American dream to the present American dream. But for American citizens, let's talk about freedom. Let's talk about how you can go out. Enough people say they want something, they're going to get it. Enough people, like in other countries, you don't have a civilian board dictating what the police do. Half the time, you don't have police, you have military acting as police because that's how they control the whole nation. So let's talk about actual freedom because we do have actual freedoms. We want more freedoms in our society, but we do have some. We do have more than other countries. How do you feel about that, Aaron?
I've never been to other countries, so I feel like we have freedom to an extent, and basically, I feel like they slowly finding ways to take that away from us, little by little. But yeah, I'll say that we have more freedom from what I heard of other countries. Like I said, I've never been to other countries, so I can't really speak on them. But I feel like we have enough freedom to be what we want to be and be how we want to be without it uh, overstepping boundaries. I think when people start to overstep boundaries and then their freedom is taken from them, then that's when they have issues with it. But for argument's sake, like I feel like that we have a lot of freedom that other countries don't. Um, so I'm cool with the freedom that we have. You just got to be able to take advantage of it in a civilized, un while still abiding by the rules kind of way.
Okay, I'm going to answer this question. All right, I'm gonna step in the middle, and then we're gonna go to Rude, and I'm going to say we have a lot of freedom here to the point that people use those freedoms to a ridiculous extent. We have so many frivolous lawsuits, so many frivolous court cases that should be like open and shut because the person was just wrong. You know what I mean? And people don't want to admit that they're wrong. And I think that freedom changed people's perspective on what they can do and what they can't do. I don't know if it's something in the food and the air. Y'all talking about the vaccine somebody injecting us, but the way people think, they feel like they have the right to do this. They feel like they have the right to do that. And fundamentally, they know that it's wrong what they're doing, but they're still like, when they overstep the bounds, like you said, they're like, oh, we broke the law, but we did it for this, and you can't lock us up for that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, or, okay, we're going to rob this department store. They got enough money. You know what I mean? We're going to burn it down to the ground because they got enough money. Okay, you still committing a crime. So I think that our perception of freedom has changed, and we need to do something to change what we think should be going on and find a way to find a medium or a middle point. Just like some of the freedoms that's in the Constitution. It's almost impossible to change things in the Constitution. But the Constitution was written in 1776. We're in 2021. Some of that shit don't matter. Some of that stuff is not prevalent now. And I know
Some of that stuff is obsolete.
So
some of that stuff in my mind is not prevalent now because you have social media, you have communication differences, you have a whole society that's different and the way that the whole society functions. Now, I'm not saying that the template should just be sponged over. I'm saying that you need to take into account some of those things and then say, do we need this? Do we need to alter that?
so
And
off
that's a part of our freedom.
topic is that the same thing with religion then? Since religion, the religious book's been written.
Religion is man-made. Okay, I don't think it falls too
It
far
was
from the
man-made
truth.
though.
But the people that sat down there and made these laws, that wrote the Bible, and I'm not saying nobody wasn't inspired to do it, they're human. We're flawed people. We say things, we make decisions. If you're writing something and you're saying thousands of people going to read this, it's going to every church, and you start dictating what is acceptable and what is not, that's going to change what you wrote as a man or a woman. I'm not saying that religion is not real. I'm just saying what we believe religion is probably is short of the truth, but falls somewhere near the truth. But the people that instituted the laws that go to religion, they were humans, so they were flawed, and they made decisions based on that. If that answers your question.
Yeah, well, I want to get back on topic. I know I'm the one that got us off topic, but I want to get back on topic to something that you said about people coming
Want to
over
throw
to
me off? That's all.
huh?
You trying to lull me into sleep, trying to throw me off? Come on.
About people coming over for the American dream and then working minimum wage. I don't feel like anybody that comes over from another country is planning on working in somebody else's business. People that come over from other countries for the American dream are building their own businesses because they
Oh
offer.
no, no.
Who do you
I'm
know?
sorry. Finish your question. Finish your question.
Who do you know
Finish
that?
your question.
No, so
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that came over from other countries
that wanted to
that
work
took jobs.
else.
They didn't want. You don't want to work, but you still got to eat. So they like dishwashers or working in restaurants. They doing any because there's
Yeah,
no job that's too good for them. We as Americans think that certain jobs is like, oh, I'm too good to do that damn job. I ain't gonna do that.
Below me.
Coming from other countries, yeah. People coming from other countries, they like, yo, I gotta eat. It's just that simple. They willing to pay me. I'm willing to do the job. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of people that come over here. Everybody that comes from another country don't get no loan.
But they
You know what I
can.
mean?
They can though.
No,
Yeah.
no. That's a false misconception. I'll say this. They might come here and they have the drive and they have I'm not even gonna say they understand it. They have the drive for the most part. Like when they come here, it's like, yo, I'm willing to do whatever is necessary for me to make it. You know, if I gotta start here, this dishwasher job, if I gotta start here mopping the floor, if I gotta start here, wherever I gotta start at, I'm willing to start somewhere. Whereas like people in this country, and I'm gonna say people of color, you know, of African descent of this country, I feel like a lot of times they'll put certain jobs beneath them because they just see it as like, yo, I'm not gonna work at no McDonald's. I'm not gonna work for such and such place because for them it's like, yo, that's beneath me, that's below me. I'm not doing that. Whereas you can start at McDonald's and end up making $50, $60, $80,000 because if you work there long enough, you know, they have different ways, they have different pathways to send you to school. They'll train you all the way up to become a manager. But most people don't stay there long enough to even become a manager. They got a super high turnover rate, you know, and they pay you.
Make a lot of money. Like I'm not gonna say a lot of money, but they make more money than that. They walking around making 50, 60 a year. Like
right. Which is what I'm talking about. You can make $50,000, $60,000 working at McDonald's, but a lot of people will never see that because they're only gonna work there for 3 months. It's like, man,
I'm gonna add this.
You know, $5.75, whatever the minimum wage is, and I get it. If you're an adult and you're making that kind of money, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? You can't feed your kids. You're working 40 hours. You can't even live making that kind of money, which takes me back to my point of saying, you know, as far as the American dream, you know, housing costs a ridiculous amount of money here. You know, the inner cities used to be a point where like a lot of these places that are now becoming quote unquote gentrified, you know, these homes where grandpa and grandma own, you know, leaving for the grandkids, leaving for the kids, you know, if they're 80s kids, chances are they're crack babies, so the house became a crack house. And then now they're being bought up for pennies on the dollar, being gentrified, and all these urban areas that they were called, which are really center cities of every major city that's across this country. And now they're 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, you know, some $1 million homes all over again, all because, you know, the house that quote unquote was not valued or was undervalued for years, it gained its value back again because somebody decided, yo, I'm gonna clean this up, I'm gonna make it nice, and I'm gonna live in it, or I'm gonna sell it.
But like Mel said,
go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead.
But like Mel said, they got people are willing to work get minimum wage. But honestly, the McDonald's around here, they got in the window, they paying $10 to $11 an hour. Like that's good money to work at McDonald's. But you got 4 to 5 people living in a house that's making minimum wage and they living good because they're putting their money together. But people here, most likely people of color, don't want to do that. They don't want to collaborate with each other in order to build themselves up to be able to have the stability to branch off. Like it's like if me, you, and Ruben was ready to move into a crib, you know, it might be like me that's like, nah, like I ain't trying to live with 2 other grown men. Like I'm not living in a 2-bedroom apartment with y'all. Like I'm too good for that. But I'll sleep on my mom's couch for 3 years. Like people have their priorities. I mean,
the thing is, at the end of the day, for me, somebody that sees me now who doesn't know my story, who doesn't know, you know, where I came from, would automatically be like, oh, well, you a business owner. Yes, I'm a business owner now, but I did have a job where I used to work on a food truck, you know, at one point. I did have a job where I was only making, you know, $8, $9 an hour or whatever. Like it took steps. It's not, everybody wants the end result. Nobody want to go through the process. Like the process takes time. It's called a process for a reason. You know, there's no microwave to success. There's no avoiding it. You can't spend your way to get success faster. You can't, you know, like you have to go through the process. Now, my kids, you know, I'm doing everything I'm doing to make sure I give them a cleaner pathway, but I'm not going to say easier. Like they're going to go through their struggles, but I just don't want them to have my struggles. Essentially, if they're going to struggle at a level above me, you know, and at the next stage, that if I don't get to it or whatever. But some people, a lot of people, they don't even want. It's like, yo, I got to do what? No. I'm not trying to do all that, man. I'm just trying to get to the next stage. And you didn't even beat the early boss yet.
Okay, so I have 2 points to make on 2 different things that were said. I'm not going to stay on this point, but I'll. You don't have to respond to this, Rube. I'm just going to make this comment because you were talking about the gentrification in neighborhoods, and it's a real thing. But now, when people sit down there and they say that these companies come in and they buy in this and that, you brought up an interesting point, and this is the point that this show was created for, because when people start asking why are these places able to buy these houses, the people in the neighborhoods know, but the politicians and the real estate companies, they just know that the shit is up for sale and they can come in there and squeeze in there. Your point was grandmom and grandpa left that grandkid that house. The kid didn't take care of the house. House was falling apart. Now he'll go out and wash that car that he paying on or he brought, but he ain't going out. He ain't sweeping the front. He ain't doing none of that shit. Okay. And then as the house falls down, he can't stay in the house. It's about to fall on because he ain't put no money into it because he didn't value it because he didn't put the work into it and buy it himself. So that's how these companies are able to come in the inner city and just steal these houses for pennies on the dollar. Half the houses they buy, these cats just left. You know what I'm saying?
Don't forget the 80s crack. Don't forget the 80s crack now. Don't forget. I said grandma, pass it down to the kids in the 80s. You know, the crack era can't be overlooked because a lot of the houses that are being gentrified now are crack era houses that were, you know.
You can't say just the 80s because it's going on now. It may have started in the 80s like it did, but it's going on now. Like people on drugs, they're more inclined to leave shit that they didn't earn, that they were just there. But you know, it can be understated how people in this country do not value shit that they do not work for. And that's a problem. They do not value it. They do not say this home, my mom left me. I may not like the neighborhood. I may not do that. My mom paid that house off. All I got to pay is utilities and keep the house together. That's a plus.
In taxes. You gotta pay the taxes. They will take that house if you don't pay the damn taxes.
But your biggest bill in life is always where you live. And your bill where you live is cut down in half because you got left some.
That's what I'm looking for, man.
But that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Now, to Aaron's point of view, Aaron was like, "You got 5 people making minimum wage, and they willing to put their money together, and maybe we don't." My point with that is, and it goes along with how people think that they're too good to work a certain job. And this is really like a statement, not a comment. So you guys can comment on it or not. It's like, are we as Americans fucking spoiled brats? Are we selfish, living the American dream? Because we say, well, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm too good for this. I'm too good for that. And you could be living in a roach infested home, can't pay your bills, about to lose everything, and you too good to work at McDonald's?
Yeah,
have some money to help you out of the hole.
A lot of people are because they feel like they're Americans that they don't have to grind and do the things that immigrants have to do when they come into the country, which they have a better work ethic than we do because majority of us are spoiled because we were born here. And like you take it for granted that you were born here and that you don't have to work. You feel like that you don't have to work as hard, but there's nothing wrong with hard work. There's nothing wrong with having to grind your way up to the top and accomplish something. And people just have a problem with that. Even if it is working at McDonald's, you can eat at McDonald's every single day. But if you own the McDonald's, if you started at a McDonald's and became a manager and then brought into the franchise and owned the McDonald's, your homies would be buying Whoppers, Big Macs from you all day long, and you would be making money off of them.
Well, we know you won't be buying that because you vegan. Maybe some fries.
Yeah, they got an Impossible Burger at Burger King.
they got Beyond Meat at McDonald's now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
But they probably cooking on the same grill though, so I'm still not grinding.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not.
Impossible Whopper. They know not to do that because they know people be
I don't
watching
eat
what they
cheese
doing.
either, so they could keep that.
So, guys, we're coming to the end of the show, and this is the part where we say who's to blame. We all know that the rest of the world believes the American dream because the propaganda from America. So that question once again doesn't like it's really no we know who's to blame with the false concepts. So what we're gonna do is just speak on the country. What is your feeling about America? You both got like up to 2 minutes. Either one of you can start. What is your feeling on America
All
as
right.
it is
So
now?
I know you took who's to blame off the table, but I'm gonna put it back on the table and I'm gonna blame the adults that brought us up because again, like the country still has ways that you can obtain wealth. It still has avenues, even if they make it harder for melanated people to do that, you still are capable of doing that. You just have to grind. But if you watch the people before you, i.e., our parents and the other adults in our community, if they never grind for anything, if they never built wealth for us to implicate and copycat off of, it's harder for us to do. It's not impossible, but it's just harder for us to do. I still feel like the opportunities are there. You just have to educate yourself, look into it, and just I guess start from the bottom if you want to call it the bottom. You basically not at the bottom because I feel like we all still have good jobs, good paying jobs that put us in a higher bracket than some of our peers. So we are in a good place. We all still young, even though Mel think he old, but Mel's still young, and you still have time to grind and build what you need to create generational wealth for our families. So again, our parents or the people in our community, I feel like are the ones to blame to not showing us that we are capable of having the quote unquote American dream.
Ruben.
So when it comes to blame, I'm gonna blame the propaganda machine that is America. Uh, so one of the things America has done a great job of is putting itself in the forefront to the world and saying, "Yo, listen, give me all your best. Give me your best and your brightest because this is the best place to be. All right. This is the only place to be. This is the best place to be. And this is where all the best and brightest can come and grow and do and live and prosper and be independent and do so freely without, the consequence of being tortured and killed, for speaking their mind. And maybe at one point, all those things were true. But living here the last 20 years, seeing how this country has developed and changed, I don't, the prosperity part is true. You can make money here. But as far as everything else, nah, man. And even to the point where, like, being the ability to make money here, the cost to make the money, man, that price is so high. Most people can't even fathom to fully afford it. So I think it's time for us to readjust how we go about, you know, figuring out how to properly teach people about not just American dream, but just understanding what it is to live, what it is to grow, what it is to build and live and be able to enjoy and be able to just enjoy life, not so much with what we're seeing, on TV and this is not living in America is not a movie. It's been pushed off as if it's some type of Hollywood production, and the reality of it is, it's more set up like a TV show and something that's scripted where people are reciting different words and people. I feel like I'm rambling right now, but
You are,
I
but you get to do that. This is your 2 minutes.
I want to just sum it up and say as somebody that's lived here in 20 years, I no longer believe in the American dream. I've made a good amount of money living in this country, but the cost of it has been too much. A lot of people come here, they give up their youth, they give up most of their life in chase of that dream. You don't have to live here to be happy. You can live anywhere and be happy. And we take away from that with the propaganda and saying this is the only place where you can be happy. This is the only place where you can prosper. This isn't a movie strip. This isn't a TV show. This is real life. And you get one life to live. You get to live it every day. And when you spend your whole life chasing a dream that truly, in most cases, is unattainable, you get lost and you end up basically feeling unfulfilled for most of your life. And that's what I gotta say.
You made Mel get up and leave.
I had to get up and get a bottle of water.
It was like in 2 minutes is a little.
So
I lost my train of thought.
Well, you're done. You're done. You were clearly done when you stopped. So now it's my turn. And I'm going to say what I feel. And I feel somewhat connected to some of the things you said, both of you. But I do feel this. We are the number one country in education. You can look it up later. It's always us and the UK. We're number one country in education. China might pass us as the number one country in wealth in 2025. And that's because of their infrastructure and everything is made over there. We're number one when it comes to defense. And we also have more freedoms than every other country in the world. You have civilian oversight where you can come in and you can force the government to do what you want them to do. A judge can stop the government from signing an executive order and have a hearing on that. Which most countries don't do that. So when you talk about the United States of America to me, you're talking about the best nation in the world, bar none. Are we perfect? No, we're not perfect. Have we hid parts of our history even from ourselves? Yes, we have. When you sit down here, and I have a strong ties to history, because one, of course, I'm melanated, I'm African, but I'm also Native American blood. So I feel very divided on this topic. However, we're here now in 2021. I'm not talking about before. I'm not talking about 1776, 1846, 1869. I'm talking about 2021. And we are the best country in the world, bar none. We have more rights than anybody else. We have more freedoms than everybody else. We have the opportunity. And yes, you might have to mortgage your youth, as Ruben said, to get those finances that you want, but you still have that opportunity. So to me, yes, it's propaganda they spread around the world. Yes, there are other countries that do well. We're not the only one. Are we a paradise? Hell no. Are we working to get better every day? Hell yes. So if you ask me, is this country a great country? I'm going to tell you the American dream exists in 2021. It may be a different version. It may not be the same version in 1864, but it's still a version. And I still feel, and I'll say it again, bar none, the best country in the world. And that's how we're going to end this show.
I just wanted to say something real quick. I mean, we could force the government to do what we want because the government works for us. So we really shouldn't have to force them to do anything because the government is in place to please the people. But not to be smart or anything, because I really want to know, because I've never been to another country before. But Ruben, would you rather live in another country? Like after you get your generational wealth, or after you build enough money, do you feel like that you will move back to Haiti?
Oh,
That's a
absolutely.
great question. And why did
Absolutely.
you ask that 20 minutes ago?
No, he just because he just
That's a
said
great
it.
question.
He just said it in his closing. Like I can't.
Okay,
I mean, nobody
Go
going
ahead.
to at the end of the show. Like,
go ahead. You're gonna wait to the end. Go ahead, answer the question, Ruben.
Oh no, absolutely. I have no plans on dying in America, in the United States, I should say, because America's is North America, South America, and the United States. But yeah, I have every intention on leaving. As soon as I acquire, what I came here to do. So my plan is to build enough, income streams, and then taking that back to Haiti. So there I own stuff. Now I own things here, but I don't put much stock in the things I own here because I know the way the way the government is set up here, the way the economy is set up here, the way the infrastructure is set up here. At any given time, the government can come back and say, you know what, we're going to take this. And especially being a melanated person in this country, there's a strong, deep-rooted history, of governments and different, militias and militias coming through and saying, yo, you know what, you're doing a little too well. We're just going to go ahead and take this right here. And, people just losing their stuff. You got Tulsa, Oklahoma. You got Charleston. You got North Carolina. You got Rosewood. You got it's several different times in history where melanated folks had wealth, had built businesses, had built different things, and then they just lose it all in one swipe. So I don't plan on building it to leave it here. I plan on building it to take it back home with me. So that's my goal. That's what I'm doing.
okay.
So before we end the show, since y'all all want to take swipes in, and I'm taking swipe on that. You mentioned a bunch of events, but most of these events, they are horrible events. But they're not the total negative events this country had. Because you have the trail where we cried, where they marched all these tribes across the country and took their land because they found gold. Okay, so it's not just melanated people that were taken advantage of. This government and its history has taken advantage of anybody that they had to achieve their goals. So I'm just going to say that on that. And I'm also going to say,
those folks are melanated also.
I was about to say that because the government is
those folks. Those folks were melanated also.
That's a whole nother topic we'll get into.
The natives are melanated folks.
That's a whole nother topic that we're going to get into because that's a topic we need to talk about. Now, the other portion is, so you mean to tell me you're going to come over here and chase the American dream, acquire everything that you want, and then you like, I'm going to get the hell out of there after I do it.
Absolutely.
Yes or no?
With no shame. Yes. No shame. No shame.
That's the Ruben dream right there.
I came to take and conquer.
The American dream exists and the potential.
I didn't come here for the American dream. I was brought here against my will. What I'm gonna do is since I'm here, I'm gonna make the best of my opportunities that I have here, and I'm gonna take what I learned here back home, and I'm gonna build and grow and show back home what I learned here. So I mean,
so you live in the American dream, and then it's gonna become the Haitian dream.
Look, Ruben done left.
No, my camera went out. But look, you gotta understand, being Haitian for me is the level of pride that I have being somebody who was born and raised in Haiti. I didn't understand just how different my upbringing was until I came to this country. Like a lot of stuff that like I don't even I want to almost say I took for granted because I assumed everyone else knew about these things. I realized years later that a lot of my peers, a lot of people that were my age, the reason why I thought and acted and behaved so differently is because they weren't even aware of these things. Like when you're sitting here in America and somebody's clapping up for President Obama because it's like it was the first black president, the first time this happened in the country. Growing up, all I knew were black presidents.
Okay.
All I knew were black
cool.
generals.
that's cool, and we're gonna end the show on that thought. But I also want to just throw in when Obama became president, it was excitement here, but not the same excitement like it was around the world because what goes on around the world. So that was a bigger thing around the world than even here, and it affected us the most. Now, with that being said, I'm Big Mel. Thank you for having this conversation with me, gentlemen. I hope you guys at home enjoyed it. As you see, we'll take a topic and we'll go back and forth, and then we'll try to come with a solution, a new perspective that you guys think on it and see where we're going to go for that. So once again, I'm Big Mel. Sorry about the out of breath stuff, guys. I'm joined by Ruben the Monarch, the grim bastard this week. You know what I mean? He's just grumpy. Um, and then I'm joined by Aaron the Hitman. I want to thank you guys for this conversation. And let's do it again. Peace out.
All right.
Peace.